What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tesla Beat number 124. It's crazy. We are, 2 weeks away from Christmas. Hopefully, everyone is having a good ramp into your holiday season. How are all the hosts doing today?
Doing great. I am super excited because when this show ends, I get in the car and I drive so that tomorrow I can be in Palo Alto at the fire station for the toy drive. Come bring toys, won't you? New, unwrapped toys because the organizations need to see what they are so they can give them to the appropriate children. Join us, won't you?
Yes,
But are you
please.
really going to drive?
I'm going to be in a car that is driving with no one else. I will not drive. It's a 12-hour drive. You think I'm going to do that? Forget it. I'm going to sit there and enjoy the scenery.
Yeah, exactly. So what Brian's mentioning is we have our big annual holiday toy drive and light show. And we're gonna be doing some cool kind of like block party. There's gonna be a lot of cool stuff. So come check that out at from 1 to 5, 2675 Hanover. Literally, I was actually there last night having a cigar with Josh West 24/7, but literally right where you can see the bear, the cyber bear directionally literally across you can see the fire department station. So come through, enjoy a light show, bring some gifts. There's gonna be some coffee and hot chocolate if you want to. It's been a cold winter so far here in the Bay Area. And then Joe, what do you have going on too?
Yes, I will definitely be there in the morning to bring the toys. We also have our light show later on that evening for the upper NorCal area. So, so
Where?
oh, it's in Galt actually. It's going to be in Galt, and we had the same last year. We did it at the same location, so we're going to be back in Galt doing the global light show. Shout out to Simon for putting together a dope
It's at like six
another dope
o'clock
one.
too, right?
Yeah, 6:30.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So just search just under San Joaquin Valley, get the schedule there if you want to go. Maybe you can hit both places at once. I know Joe and some of his crew are going to be doing both.
Yep.
But yeah, shout out to Insta360 for the wonderful hookup on amazing cameras. Check them out. They're posted in the YouTube link as well. All right, guys. Never a dull moment in the Tesla sphere. Stock holding strong overall right now, 19%.
Shot.
It's up to 451. Yeah, I got it right on the ticker, so it makes me special. But we're up 19%, so ending strong. And you can actually, I know, unfortunately, as I was taking the screenshot, it was hovering over November 17th. But yeah, I mean, if you guys remember the insane run up to like I think the 52-week high is 488. So crazy recovery. I mean, look at the lows that you saw this year dipping into 220 and then all the way back up. And so, it's been a crazy year. Like I was just reflecting on that last night. It's just been everything you can think of, from being called everything you can think of to, ending the year on such a, I would say, a high note. And so but yeah, all right, Joe, I'm gonna pass this one to you to kick us off. And one of the other EV companies are up to something.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great to hear everybody's take. So yeah, so this to me is just further proof of how cooked Legacy Auto is. But but yeah, Rivian stepped up, and I think probably their most impressive thing is the AI assistant. Like I don't think this really talks about it a lot, but it was their demonstration was pretty cool to where it was sending text messages and updating the text via how many on route and stuff like that is really cool. It's like the Grok integration, but like a level up. So it's you could tell they're getting there. They're throwing everything at the cat, including lidar. So Brian,
Well, I just enjoyed the visual image in my head of throwing everything at a cat, but no, this is a big event. I had tried to get an invitation to it. They did not invite, from what I could tell, any analysts, just influencers, which is why when they said LiDAR, there was a big cheer in the room, while us at home were like, oh, okay, go on, explain. So that's interesting. I'm glad to see them doing what needs to be done. Autonomy is the future. it is safer. We haven't seen stats from every manufacturer, but if a few manufacturers can drastically improve safety by doing this, they are it is going to become inevitable. It'll be like seat belts. It'll be like if only one company had airbags back in the day and every company had to invent their own. You wouldn't want to be behind the curve when it becomes a critical element of a car in order to be able to sell it. Rivian's doing the right thing. It's an expensive approach. I can't believe they're going to try and do it alone. I think that's risky. I think it's but it can pay off. When you guys said legacy auto is cooked, look at how many other legacy auto companies are just really not committing to serious autonomy. Super Cruise is great on the highway, with limited interaction. Blue Cruise, the same kind of deal. Those are systems that aren't really designed to scale into full self-driving. Can Rivian's autonomy system get them all the way to where they want to be, to where FSD is today or even tomorrow? Less clear. I mean, it is a long road. People hopping in it and saying, boy, it works. Gosh, this works as good as FSD version 8. It's like, yeah, but that was hairy. That was not something that a lot of people would have chosen to use at any price, let alone $50 a month. So, but it is at least evidence that they are serious about it and that they can be a contender in the new world of automotive sales.
Hans, we're going to say something?
I just not a fan of RJ's approach here. And like, I understand there's some trade-off. Like, the thing is, to solve self-driving, you have to have intelligence. The self-driving problem has always been an intelligence problem. That's why Elon went all in vision so many years ago and said that LiDAR was stupid, was because if you don't have a smart brain, it doesn't matter how well you can bounce light beams and lasers off of items, you're still going to not understand the world well enough to navigate it intelligently. And the problem that Rivian has is, they don't have the ability to go out and hire the Andrei Karpathys of the world to put them on the right path to have the intelligence. They certainly don't have the data centers that are necessary. Like, from an intelligence standpoint, they're always going to lag behind Tesla, and it's, just not within the core capabilities of the company. And that's why they need these other crutches to make the system as good as possible. But, there's just no clear path for any of these extra radars or LiDARs to make the system in any way as good as, much less better than FSD. And so, I get frustrated with him. I would never own Rivian stock ever. Just not something that I would do. There's the ability to, between Rivian's spending of like Lucid's even worse on this standpoint, but they just continue to burn cash. There's no path to scale. There's no path to profitability. And I mean, putting your hat in the ring to make crappy autopilot software doesn't improve their chances of success as a stock. The only thing that they have going for them is that legacy auto is absolutely atrocious and even worse than them. But betting on the fact that your competitors suck, mostly apart from companies like Tesla, oh, and by the way, the Chinese, is not a winning strategy.
And I would say the neat thing they did, they're like, oh, look at all this AI integration. Yeah, I'm not as impressed with that. I don't know how much of that I would even use. I wouldn't use it beyond the scope of what the car does. I might use it to have a chat like I will with Grok and say, where's a neat restaurant or a neat store? Go ahead and navigate me there. Beyond that, I my phone can already move things around by saying its name instead of Rivian. There's a lot of, it's an approach that might sell well in China. In China, they have all the cars have digital assistants. Not all of the medium to premium cars have that. And Most of them work pretty well. A lot of them don't work as well as what we saw in the Rivian demonstration. But I don't know if anyone's going to make a decision on which car to buy based on something like that. It's going to come down to what it can actually do in terms of integration with the car.
So
And
you're missing a couple of key points here. So one of the big things is that Rivian has so much money they can put LiDAR on a vehicle. So they can definitely hire Carpathy. So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't do that instead of putting LiDAR on the vehicle, but hey, whatever. But also they don't have to beat Tesla. You know what I mean? They just have to show something, and then everybody who's a Tesla hater will be like, well, they have this. I mean, you see it with people who have Hyundais, right? Like they're like, what? We have that same thing. It's lame, Keith.
Yeah.
It's not not the same, but you know what I mean? Like this is where education
yeah,
becomes
but at
super
least
critical.
Hyundai's a profitable company, so they can do that for many more years. That's there is a difference there. And one thing that I would say on Rivian real quick is that I will make a wager right now that Rivian's self-driving technology will never, ever, ever, ever be better than Comma AI. And if I was going to buy a Rivian, I would pay the $1,000 to put a Comma 4 in there in a heartbeat, and I would never use that system. And I would have a much better self-driving car than whatever Rivian is going to develop.
Wow, I love it. I love it. I want to address Rivian's cash burn situation. It's famously bad. I had someone cite me AJ's chart from last February saying, look at how bad it is and the projection. The projection hasn't come true. They had a quarter where their cash flow, their cash on hand slightly improved, and then it went down again. But it is teetering around the same place it was 3 quarters ago. Their cash burn situation may be under control. And this is all while they were spending billions to develop this system. I assume billions. My concern for it is if you look at the way Tesla's got their financial situation sorted out on FSD is we're going to put a $1,500, $2,000 system in every car and hope that 1 in 4, 1 in 5 buys it for 8,000. That makes us whole. Rivian system is going to cost more than $2,500 to put in each car because the LiDAR alone is hundreds, according to their own people. Nvidia said that it costs hundreds. That's more than 10% of the cost right there. And then a high performance bespoke chip produced in low volume is gonna cost a fortune, easily a couple thousand. So they're going to, if their take rate was 100%, they would still be losing money on the system by putting it in cars as it is today. I'm sure in the future they will increase the price of it as the capabilities develop. But I don't think that at 50% off, it's 70, it's 65, 70% off the purchase price. But I think a lot of people will still go with monthly because, $50 is pretty easy to deal with on a subscription. I don't think at 50% off, it is 50% as good as FSD today. Not even close. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, my thought with Rivian is I think well I first off think there's a couple of companies that like because I think when you think of the future of AI, it's going to be very important. You could have a great chat bot, you could have something great that lives inside of a computer, but you need hardware to go and potentially win this AI race, whether that's wearables, whether that's phones, whether that's going to be cars. So there's companies like Apple, there's companies like even Nvidia, like that I think that could they don't need to go and reinvent the wheel when it comes to supply chain that could potentially make these moves. But clearly they're reading the writing on the wall, whether it's the cash burn or whatever it is, where they're not. Or maybe who knows with Apple, like for example, I don't know if they're just on a different planet right now, but they've missed a couple of these big moments, and there's still time to make big turns, but they're just continue to sit and wait. But like I do think that I think it was mentioned at the beginning, it's like legacy auto, like none of them are working or doing any of this. And it's concerning because it's just like, again, it's just there. Like, if you want to lose a race, like, they just continue to be like, let's lose it even more. Let's not do anything. And let's wait for, okay, let's say even Rivian and Tesla solve this stuff or whatever. Let's wait till they solve it. Then we'll figure out how to put these things in the car after it's already accomplished. And it's like, at that point, no one's going to be buying your cars when they realize that this can go from park to park as it already does today, but as they refine it and it becomes even more perfect and better. It's just these companies are going to be so left behind, and so that's why it's great to see Rivian. I did talk to someone who went to the presentation, and I don't know if this first person's perspective like changes the look, but my understanding is the reason why they're using lidar is because, so I guess Tesla in the same way, they'll have their vehicles go out, and obviously they'll use all that information, but then they'll send lidar, those those rigs with Teslas on top of it to essentially validate the information that FSD was already doing in that location. So because Rivian doesn't have the amount of miles, obviously, as Tesla has, they don't even have the a big like fleet to do that. That's why my understanding was why they're doing both is so that they can also check the information going there. But again, that was my understanding. But it's good to see Rivian doing something. I'm glad they showcased it. Um, I think it's still, they have bigger issues of just like long-term profitability and whether they'll be here. But I just think that the writing on the wall is someone needs to acquire them. That's like, or unless maybe the sinking ship's so bad that it's like, we're screwed. And Lucid, I don't know. They're way behind at this point. It's a little scary. All right. So this broke this morning. Looks like Tesla and Starlink could be laying early ground for Starlink-enabled vehicles. A new patent application describes an RF transparent roof assembly capable of embedding satellite and cellular communication hardware directly into vehicle structure. If this is not true, my opinion is if this is not true right now, right? Because I think Sawyer said could be. This is going to happen at some point. I mean, it just does not make sense. You're seeing all of the integration that's happening, like whether it's Grok inside your Tesla. We should have Starlink. It doesn't make sense not to have Starlink. But again, how much they're obviously Tesla's going to have to pay Starlink for the service, but I would assume it's going to benefit them a lot more than paying what is it, Verizon today for some of their internet access. But in my opinion, it's kind of crazy just to see the convergence. Elon said this, I think, was it last podcast or the one before, whether it was the Katie Miller one, is just like the convergence of all of his companies are just like, it's just like, it's kind of like when you put together like I don't know, like a wooden toy set, right? It's like, or a potato head. It's like you stick on the nose here, you stick on the hat, and it's just like all these like things. It feels like Elon had no idea that these things were all going to kind of converge, and like yet they are all like somehow just like, the Grok is the brain, and or in some cases, right? It's just, I don't know, pretty crazy to see. But do you guys have any thoughts on this?
I could take either side of that debate. I could say that I think that a better use for Starlink is to fill in the gaps. You don't want every car relying on it. That's too many connections, especially concentrated in cities, to operate reliably. When you're dealing with AT&T or any of the big networks for bulk rates like that, it's not the per car connection fee that gets you, it's the sum of the data. And Tesla's done some very clever things to reduce the amount of data going through the premium connection. For example, when you navigate, it doesn't show you the satellite map by default anymore. That saves bandwidth. Multiply that by 1 million, 2 million, 4 million cars. You're saving a bunch of data. What this is really critical for is when you're in a ravine, not a ravine. Please don't drive into a ravine. When you're in like a valley and there's no coverage at all, if the car is operating fully autonomously and gets stranded, what do? Well, you got Starlink for that. So this would be a great backup plan. I could argue, well, it's too expensive. Yeah, but it makes the car worth 5 times more. I think that's a good investment. And you could say, well, there's just never going to be enough bandwidth. That's true. Starlink can't launch enough satellites. If only they would consider raising additional funds from the public market somehow. Wait a minute. We heard about that this week. They could IPO at least some part of SpaceX, if not all of SpaceX, to raise the capital needed uh, to uh, to launch more aggressively into space, to get that insane shell of 25,000, 30,000 satellites up for truly global, really rich, saturated connections. It's all possible. Everything is, all the crazy stuff is now possible. We saw a booster fly 32 times, or was it land? I mean, land 32 times. It's no longer a white painted rocket. It's just soot colored. Because they don't wash it in between the soot. Maybe it's load bearing. I don't know. But it's the possibilities. You've got all the puzzle pieces. And by the way, how insulting. I call someone a potato head in an interview. I never get another interview, but apparently some people can get away with that.
Thankfully, I was saying the convergence of Elon's companies. Hans, were you going to say something?
One of the things about this technology is it's an absolutely must-have before Cybercab really hits volume production, because this, you absolutely have to have, a robust and fault-tolerant connection system for robotaxi to operate. And so they're going to need the Verizon, whatever the wireless connections are, and they're going to need Starlink for every single robotaxi that's out there. And we've already seen the robotaxis that are existing, that are the Model Ys, they have the Starlink connection in them. And so, of course, if they're having to do that for those cars, they're going to need to do it in a fully integrated way for the Cybercab. And eventually, whatever Model Ys that they're making, Model 3s that they're making that do end up in the robotaxi network, those should have that as well. And so, yeah, it's obvious that this is where this is going. The only question is, what's the timing?
100%. Yeah, and it's actually crazy that Brian, that you mentioned this, because you just think of like all of the things that Tesla will do to save money, because as you said, right, it's going to be the sum of the data, right? So imagine they just throw some engineer, hey, go look at the costs and how this is and where we're spending the most money, and what are we spending the most money on when you think of the sum of the data. And it could be simple things like, when navigation goes on, it's going to the satellite versus like the things all that you said. So it's just and then now they're, I would assume that like potentially the Starlink rates are maybe more attractive. Obviously, I don't have anything to back that up. But just being able to get service literally anywhere you go now, because if it's Starlink enabled, you're going to be out in the salt flats in Utah, or out on Big Sur with no reception, and you'll be connected, and you can still potentially call roadside service or whatever it may be. And so I think it's just going to be a huge win. All right, so this was one thing
Here, before we move on, one
Yeah.
last piece on that. If you ever want to use the Tesla Feet as a distributed inference compute asset, kind of helps if they have like robust connectivity all the time everywhere, and you have not just good connectivity but then good bandwidth too. And it needs to be low latency, that really tends to help out. I wonder if there's a system out there that could provide these cars with all of those things.
Can't be done. It's impossible. What are you going to do next?
No way. Are you going to make a company that does that?
You're gonna catch a skyscraper with chopsticks? Come on, man. Be real.
Who would do that? That sounds dumb. But speaking of what is it? Statue of Liberty's flying and being caught by Mechazilla arms. So this is something that was interesting, and the reason I added, so obviously this is the Tesla beat, but obviously, as we know, things that Elon is obviously running 6-7 companies at this point now. So but this was pretty big, and Elon confirmed that SpaceX is going public. I just wanted to get your guys' take, really the co-hosts here, because I think it's a good and bad thing, right? With SpaceX going public, it's just, again, who knows? The good thing is that, Elon's not new to this stuff, but this will add additional, stock trading pressure, all of that stuff. And again, Elon's built for it, but this is definitely going to be additional pressure. So I actually thought that SpaceX wasn't going to go public for a while. And so this was a little shocking to me, but what were your guys' perspective on hearing this break this week, and even from a Tesla standpoint, if you had any thoughts from that?
Well, I'll say real quick that I never thought SpaceX would go public, but I think that Starlink could be a shining example of something that could branch off of that company and be its own subsidiary cash hog like it is right now. So I personally, I love SpaceX, and I know everybody who's an investor in Tesla would love to be an investor in SpaceX, but man, for the company to be going as fast as it does and everything it's doing at the pace that it's doing it at, being public would just be kind of a hindrance, I would think. But Starlink, I think Starlink's good.
I think Joe's got good points on both fronts. The reality is I'd rather have SpaceX stock than Starlink stock, but if you give me either option, I'm going to be excited. Retail investors will flock in. I am surprised they're doing it at all. I thought the cash flywheel was sufficient to just keep it private forever, but I can understand that there are liquidity concerns for the employees who have shares. They don't want to hold forever. Some of them want that money. They want to buy a house. They want to get married, whatever it is. They want to go for a very fun weekend in Vegas. I don't know. But they would need to have some kind of ability to actually move the stock. They don't have to go public in a traditional way where you make 50-80% of new shares available. They can do that. You can only float 2% of it if you want, and you can get even higher values because of scarcity, as long as they don't double the number of shares in doing so. Elon will still have over 20% of the company. He's at 42% right now. Interestingly, Google owns like 7-8% of SpaceX because they bought in early because they could see the promise, and what a great investment that was for them. This is a good way to raise a ton of capital, and you don't have to dilute like crazy.
Yeah, Hans, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, are they really going to IPO the whole company, or will they do an IPO that is just Starlink, or, and what's the future of Starlink? Is Starlink going to be Starthink as well in the long term? Is that where all of the data centers in space that Elon is talking about, are they going to live as a subsidiary of Starlink, or will they, do all of that just under the SpaceX umbrella and IPO the whole thing? But, one of the things that Eric Berger reported on when he actually wrote that piece that Elon then replied to, which really confirmed what was happening for real, was that Elon is really all in on this idea of data centers in space right now. And that's one of the reasons why you've seen him continually reiterating the fact that, hey, we want to put like 100 gigawatts a year of data centers into space from Earth in about 2030. And right now, we're struggling. We haven't even built the first coherent 1 gigawatt data center here on Earth. And so he's wanting to do 100 times that every year, just a few years from now. And that shows you the exponential pace that he's thinking about that's going to be required in order to win this AI race against Google, against OpenAI, against all of the other crazy, nation states that are out there that are trying to compete on this scale as well. And that's why he said that AI is the highest ELO battle ever, that you're competing against all of the smartest people at all of the biggest companies with all of the most resources. And then you also have the geopolitics of the whole deal. You've got to interface with your own national government, and then you've got competition against China. Like, I can't even imagine what the corporate espionage considerations are for this kind of stuff. And all of that, I think, is one of the stuff that pushes towards, well, if we're just the best at making chips and putting them in space where we have free energy and we figure out, all the hard things about cooling and networking to make that happen, and we just have the best ability to launch this stuff into space, then all of those other players are like, that's something that none of them are really going to be able to compete with Elon in. And it's the thing that Elon can do to really maximize his chance of winning here. And that is something that will require a lot of capital. And that's why he wants to do this IPO, is to be able to bring in a lot of money as quickly as possible to accelerate their ability to do 100 gigawatts in space.
The idea of space-based data centers is, crazy. But what's crazier to me is the idea that the US may have space-based data centers before Europe really has any AI data centers at all. Can anyone tell me what on earth Europe is doing and why they're falling so far behind in AI? Because I don't get it.
Are they even doing anything?
Are they?
Well,
name a
especially
European AI company.
Yeah, especially since so much of the talent that actually is transformative in AI, so many of them are from Europe, but they're all doing it here in the United States. I mean, Demis Hassabis is one of the most influential people in AI, period. And between him and then the rest of DeepMind, like, that's the majority of the progress that has been made in AI is in some way connected to that. And that was a London-based thing. And yet, of course, they can't continue that work in the EU. They have to come to the United States, because if they had stayed in the EU, they would have just drowned and died.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go into an EU rant, but there's clearly, I mean, I think the overall theme is just strangulation by overregulation there. I think of the innovation has just been pretty much choked out of Europe. But when I think of this SpaceX, like, clearly something must have changed probably in the past 6 months to a year, where Elon was like, AI data centers, I need capital. Boom, we need to go public now. Because just think about it. It's like he's going to be and that's why I think it's just, if we even just reflect and just spent 5 minutes on just how, like, all of these kind of companies are just coming together, because you think about these AI data centers and putting them in space, and the convergence of Tesla with the solar, and XAI and SpaceX getting it up there, and then it's just like, it's for me, it's just so mind-boggling to see everything literally come together. And one of those things where it's like, okay, hey, we're gonna still build the biggest data centers here on Earth, like as he is with XAI. They're expanding that whole Colossus 2, I think it is. They're making that in Memphis area, but it's just like, they're like, we're gonna go fast there, but you know what? Hold my beer. I also got a whole, like, untapped like Utah or Texas, like times a billion, just like around the earth, and let's just go throw a bunch of satellites and things like that. And the crazy thing is, if you have these AI data centers, let's say they're specific to a specific region, you could potentially even have, and just put those satellites in that region. It's going to be like, I still am just in awe of, like, how everything is just, like, literally coming together. And clearly, I think with the AI data centers being in space, like, he was just like, exactly like you said, Hans, there had to have been one of those moments where it was like, okay, we got to go public. I don't want to, maybe, but it's like, we have to. We have no choice. It's almost like his hand was doing it, because, as you said, right, it's going to come down to the elo power, and just because you're competing against everyone. But it's like, Elon's like, I can compete on the ground, but also I can compete in space now, because now all these other companies are gonna, if they want satellites for their AI data centers, they're gonna have to come to SpaceX, or some of these other companies to get up in the sky. And that's all going to go through SpaceX.
Yeah, one of the key factors, I think, Gelly had an interview with the CEO of StarCloud a few months back, and it was apparent that NVIDIA was investing into StarCloud and making sure that they would have some type of data center in space. And so I think, I mean, all these things are just like domino effects, right? Like over time, you just look at all these things happening. We're living literally in the best time in history. It's like, it's so wild to see all this stuff happening, robots and cars, and like everything is just like, it's pretty wild time to be in. But yeah, StarCloud, I think kind of kicked that off. Their research and their development into space data centers is pretty phenomenal, and I think it kind of uh, put a foot in the butt of a lot of people thinking like, wait a second, oh crap. You know what I mean? It's always these little companies that you just never really know about that are doing big things, and Tesla was one of them. And now, I mean, luckily they still operate like a startup on a lot of things, and so they just keep innovating. But yeah, I think StarCloud had a lot to do with that.
If you look at the state of automobiles generally, if it weren't for Tesla, a lot of these companies never would have gotten into high gear. If Tesla had never gone to China, where would China's automotive industry be today? I don't think it'd be leading globally as it is in terms of electric vehicles. And for SpaceX, we know that's true. Look at what space development was from the advent of the shuttle until after the shuttle's termination. There was nothing going on in space anywhere in the world. Nothing new, nothing exciting, uh, no real hope. And even when the shuttle was canceled, there was no replacement name. They're like, well, we'll try and go back to building capsules like we had in the 60s. That's not exciting. That's not new. Uh, and now here we are. Uh, China's on the verge of landing their first rocket. Blue Origin has landed an orbital class rocket. It's all getting exciting again. And now with the drop in cost to get payload to orbit, new opportunities emerge. There will be in our lifetime orbital hotels. They'll be cost prohibitive, but I say that about anything north of a Super 8. So maybe I'm not the best authority on it.
Yeah, it's wild, wild times. Joe, I'll pass this one to you. I don't know if there's anything we wanted to, or anything you remember that you wanted to talk about specifically, but hit us with the Katie Miller.
So yeah, it was a pretty good interview overall, and I had Grok cite some of the top 10 things, and it was pretty interesting just watching him, because she asked, it seemed like she just really wanted to get her questions out. She really didn't have a lot of follow-up questions, unless like he kind of veered on a path. So it was a overall a good interview, but I think him realizing that like his side quest on Doge was kind of a thing during when it was happening. I was like, man, he's still working at the company's still innovating. I didn't really see the thing, but you can kind of see it. But I mean, not kind of, but you can definitely see it now that he's back full stream. I mean, there was a definite difference. So, but there was just a few little tidbits I thought they were pretty cool, like a Tesla full autonomy coming in 2026, and you know, what I mean, like just all the things that his AI influence and stuff like that. And you just got to think like Rod Barron says it a lot of times, you know what I mean? Like no matter what you look at in history, like Google to anything, like Elon has touched it. You know what I'm saying? It's like really wild when you think about that. Like people talk about the PayPal mafia and all that stuff, but you just really realize that from his influence, you have all this stuff throughout history. And then like, I mean, you just can't discount that. People they like to hate on him. They like to do all this stuff, but you can't sleep on him. You can't discount him, and you definitely got to pay attention to what he's doing.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right, so be merry, people. Hopefully I think some people have been getting the holiday software update. It has not gone wide release, but I think some of the big things. The first one, to be honest, was I think probably the top two things that I looked at was the Tesla photo booth. You're gonna obviously be able to take selfies from inside now, create filters, stickers. I mean, long time coming. And then the second one was the Grok with navigation commands. That was a big one. Because it's kind of like funny to have an AI in there, especially on unhinged mode. but then you can't really, you want to be able to imagine getting directions from Grok in unhinged mode as it's navigating. Turn right. I'm sure. But yeah, like it's
You dumb so and so.
yeah, exactly. So a lot of things coming. Supercharger site map, 3D view, which is cool. Navigation improvements. Again, I'm not going to go through everything here, but hopefully you can get that, and hopefully they roll it out. In my opinion, like at least the week of Christmas, if not sooner, just so that there's time to enjoy it going into. Because I feel like the holidays just slip by, and then boom, it's just January, and it's like. But being able to enjoy all of the amazing feature updates leading into Christmas would be awesome.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff the Cybertruck had initially, so it's kind of cool to see like not a lot of it, but there's a few key things in there that Cybertruck had that didn't anybody else have, and so it was like they're kind of rolling that out, being the wraps and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
And
Yeah, I felt
so
like the most exciting things on there were the improvements to allowing Grok to do the navigation, and then being able to refine the pins for home and work and places like that, so that you can get the car to navigate on FSD exactly where you want it to go at home. We'll see when that rolls out if it makes it any better at parking in your garage the way that you would like it to. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But at least it's an improvement in that direction. And of course, that's going to be a big deal, I think, overall. And then the rest of the stuff obviously is fun for Christmas. But yeah, I think those are things that they're including in the holiday update that are actually like major improvements that point to the future of FSD and Tesla's autonomy.
This is for free every year, for free. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy a whole new car to get the newest features. And that's the craziest thing. If we'd have gotten someone like Ross Gerber on the board of directors, his first objective would be to squeeze out every penny of value. The first thing that means is that something like premium connectivity, $10 a month, come on, that's too cheap. $833 if you're buying it annually, forget that. It's $25 now. People will pay it. Now we've got to increase the supercharger rates and all these little features that we're giving away, crazy talk. We need to charge for that or paywall it somehow, or just make it so that it's only available if you buy a whole new car. Tesla don't do that, and it's lovely, and I love it.
Yeah, it's and some of these things are pretty big. Like, again, they rolled out Zoom. I still haven't done a Zoom call. Just the context hasn't been right, but just haven't done a Zoom call in my Tesla. But just even getting access now to being able to do selfies. I mean, I think it's really cool to see things like that. And that's like a pretty big update, just being able to get that access. Again, Tesla is like literally a computer on wheels, so it's really just a matter of just engineering and really getting access through the app and all this other stuff when they release things like this. But when they do, like I said, when they release things like this, I mean, this is not just a bunch of nothings, right? This is just a bunch of big updates. I think Grok will be, the biggest one, obviously. But a lot of these are just going to continue to improve the user experience inside the cars. Like, people don't need Apple CarPlay inside their Tesla.
I would say that automatic HOV lane routing is pretty awesome too. Well, I was explaining this to my family last night on the way back from a Christmas party, and they said, how does the car know that we can use the lane? I said, because it knows how many seats are occupied in the car. Of course it does. That's why it tells us to put on our seatbelts, but not to clip the empty seats. So the car knows this, it can use it. And this is the benefit of having engineers at Tesla who actually use the product, who actually drive the cars, who actually drive to work and think, gosh, you know what I'd do different? Wait, I can. And it's just huge.
Just huge.
Yeah, the next slide, the passport has been like super big for a lot of people, like for whatever reason, like that gamification of charging is just like in travel has been really smart on Tesla's part too.
That's still only on Apple, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't get it on, but I mean, you just see like just the thought process behind like just making things more fun for everybody. I think it's pretty cool.
For a company building Androids, you'd think they'd support Android a little more.
Right.
Right. All right. So now we got Joe. This one's to you.
Yeah, they're making a lot of cars in the swamp. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but
Down under.
there's this patch of wet dirt that's making a crap ton of cars. 4 million cars from Gigafactory Shanghai. That's freaking amazing. Like that team is like incredible, man. Like they are just cranking them out. But sadly, nobody's buying cars in China. So
No, instead, hey, when you combine China speed and Tesla speed, what you get is Giga Shanghai. When Lynette Lopez famously said, just a mud field, they're just pushing dirt around. I thought, wow, she read bad copy off the prompter, unaware that she wrote the bad copy. Hey, you've had 6 years to reconsider your position, and instead of coming to Jesus, you've decided to double down and become best friends with Barry. Hey, you invest with Barry, you get buried. That's how it works. 4 million bogmobiles ain't lying. This is still going on, and Tesla China sales are still strong. Model 3 performance, Model 3 performance, Y performance is sold out through February. The YL is sold out through February. The export numbers are very strong. More markets are coming on all the time. It is a powerhouse.
Wild, wild, wild. All right. I feel like I don't know if there's anyone necessarily any big automakers at this point left out, but BMW gets access to superchargers as of yesterday. Sorry, this was as of December 10th, so I guess as of December 9th. But I'm pretty sure everyone's included now. Is there anyone missing? Do you know? I don't think so, right? So this one was I actually thought BMW was already on, but I guess not. All right. This is I think this is what you were talking about, Joe, earlier, all
Yeah.
of the passports and the things like that. All right, Joe, I'll throw this one to you. PowerShell with the Powerwall.
PowerShare with the Powerwall. So Tesla has announced a new PowerShare with Powerwall feature is still in development and is now scheduled to release in mid-2026. So for a lot of people who got the Cybertruck, I mean, this is like a kind of a selling point for them with being able to have the Powerwall PowerShare feature, and so it's like finally. But I mean, that's like 3 years from release. It's kind of crazy.
Kind of crazy. All right, there's one other slide that I wanted to just jump to.
It's clicking through all the good stuff.
You want me to go back? Is there anything?
No. Nobody will know. Nobody will ever know.
Okay, well, they saw it. I showed it up there. But yeah, I think like, this is just I feel like where it's like the epitome of legacy auto, right? It's just let's block people from competing so that we can I mean there's other issues with having, China, like a China government based autos in here. But aside from that, I'm just saying it's like blocking people from coming into a market is not going to be a way to compete, right? That's not how you can keep your competitive edge. And so looks like, there was an article that Sawyer posted. Major automakers urged Washington to prevent Chinese government backed automakers and battery manufacturers from gaining entry into the United States to open manufacturing plants, warning the industry's future is at stake. It's like, so it's like not only are they not innovating, they're actually doing the exact opposite. And they're like, hey, we don't even want to, we're going to create something that like Blue Cruise or something that's like literally can't even compete and is stuck in like 10 years ago. So they're not even advancing that in a lot of ways. But then it's like, let's block entry from other competitors to come here. But it's just, I don't know. It's just there's just no hope for these guys.
I thought it was all about jobs. It's not about jobs. Oh, what a surprise. They lied again. Hey, protectionism will get you pretty far, but it can only get you so far. And this is a global race. If you want to retreat to your borders and only sell cars in the US, you're going to have a problem. In part because you're going to lose economies of scale. You're going to lose the ability to attract the best engineers and retain them. Your shareholders are going to get increasingly annoyed with you. And pretty soon you will be the Lada of the US. It's not a great idea. Maybe just move forward. Maybe just get serious and make some painful decisions. Maybe tell your shareholders, no more dividends until we get this sorted out, because we need to grow into the future. And for the love of all that's holy, stop doing buybacks. It is not appropriate based on the health of your companies.
To be fair, I mean, GM's not wrong. The health of the industry for all of the legacy automakers and pretty much everyone in the United States besides Tesla is at stake. And Mary did lead. She led all of these dumbasses straight over the cliff into bankruptcy.
Well, I got humiliated by that, so I walked it back and said, I didn't believe that. I just let everyone say it for years. Mary, come on now.
And behind closed doors, I did go to Biden's ear and say, "Hey, you really need to talk about Tesla, because we didn't lead." But yeah, continue the lie for years.
And the thing that makes this even doubly more insulting and hilarious at the same time is that GM is one of the most culpable companies in so much. GM is China Motors. They were for so long until they got discarded because they were no longer useful to the CCP anymore. That they became, there's a great piece by, who was it that did that? Was it it wasn't AJ. I think it may have been Connecting the Dots that did an explainer video on just how much of a Chinese company GM had become at one point.
I'll push back on that real quick, because that video was not based on any interviews with anyone who actually knew what was going on. And even in his comments, he had people from GM saying, wow, I've worked there for decades and had never heard any of this. And a lot of the dots he connected didn't connect, saying that, oh, it's the same technology. It's not. The UI is different. The batteries are different. The software is different. The BMS is different. The design language is different. So I would take dots with a heaping quarter cup of salt on a number of those videos. Apologies, dots. You know I love you, but you gotta.
Well, that's good content.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute.
So John's muted.
I thought I was just a big mood killer.
No, not at all. One thing I did want to mention is Model Y is #1 in Malaysia. And why is this a big deal? It's because the Model Y is just a lot more expensive than a lot of the vehicles in Malaysia. So the fact that, again, people are doing they're extending themselves and going and buying this car again against the competition out there, and cheaper options is a big deal. So it looks like, I think the headline on the bottom left of this is Malaysia EV registrations tripled in November of 2025. So it's a pretty big deal. But yeah, market share is 96 basis points or 135% above the 3-month trailing average of 0.7. So pretty crazy. All right, Joe, what is this?
This is the big. We're going to do quick takes and get everybody's opinions real quick on these new informations.
All right, Brian, XAI late night meetings and megapack deliveries.
Probably nothing. Doesn't mean anything. Hey, look, your data center is going to need a lot of juice. And not only does it need reliable juice, it needs very smooth juice. Those chips are fickle. And if your power coming is straight from the grid, it needs to be smoothed. It just does. Hey, we've got a device that does that. And it's available for less and less money every time you buy one. They just keep getting cheaper. So what are you going to do to sell more mega packs? Well, once every grid's got one that wants one, how do you expand? Well, first of all, we'll never get to that point. But if we do, the use cases keep expanding as the cost comes down. You find more and more use cases. And the current one is AI data centers. I don't know if any of you folks out there have heard, but AI data centers are proliferating at quite a rate at the moment. This is a vast untapped market. And Tesla Energy, even in the US, is still growing massively, with an entire second factory coming online in 26.
That's crazy.
There was a really good piece that Gavin Baker did with Patrick O'Shaughnessy on the Invest Like the Best podcast this week, and he laid out kind of the roadmap that XAI in connection with NVIDIA is going to pursue moving forward to take back the crown from Google, who have really done a great job with Gemini 3, and they've shown how great the TPU chips are. But NVIDIA's been working on this Blackwell chip. I think everyone's heard of that. The thing is that there are no big installations of Blackwell chips yet that are up and running, and there's no model. Well, that's what XAI is working on right now with Colossus 2. And they're trying to get up to that 1 gigawatt mark that Elon talked about. And once they do that, then we'll see the first actual AI models that are trained completely on these big new Blackwell clusters. And there's a lot of speculation and anticipation that those are going to dramatically outcompete what Google has at the time. And so that's, the goal that they're working towards is XAI needs to build the biggest 1 gigawatt coherent cluster of Blackwells as fast as humanly possible. They need to help NVIDIA debug that entire cluster and all of the software, all of the hardware, everything, get that thing singing so that they can train that model, so that they can show what NVIDIA can do against Google and the TPU. And the reason that they're meeting at midnight is because they are moving at the speed of light, trying to get that up. Megapacks are an important part of that, as Brian mentioned. And it's one of the, this is that highest ELO battle thing. You've got to solve so many hard problems, and you've got to solve them as quickly as possible. You've got to get this stuff up. You've got to get it running, and you've got to do these incredibly hard things. And XAI is world class at that. They have been moving way faster than any other AI lab now for years since inception, and they are not slowing down.
How do you do it? So getting good at software I get, but getting good at hardware too, standing up an entire data center in countable days instead of months or years. How do you do it? I don't get it.
And
you need an Elon.
Yeah, I think he said, wasn't it 19 days or something? But I remember Jensen said something about the compute power or the amount of GPUs that you could stack, and Elon took that and he's like, hold my beer. And I think he 5x whatever the guy thought. It was 30,000 GPUs. He did 100,000 or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean,
you can't cluster that many together. Actually,
yeah, I can.
Can you send me more though?
Well, and that is why XAI is the preferred partner for NVIDIA on being the first to roll out, the new, whatever the new architecture is. Because yes, there were other people that had H100 clusters at the time, and like you said, they were around 30-ish thousand coherent H100s was the max that anyone had figured out how to do. And Elon's like, yeah, we're going to make that. First it was 100,000, then it went to almost 200,000 coherent H100s, which just shattered anything that anyone else had even thought about doing, much less actually accomplished. And then the speed was crazy. And so that's why he's like, hey, if you can push the boundaries way beyond what we thought that could be done, and you can do it way faster than anybody else, then everyone else has got to chase you. You help us, you just help us move faster. And that's why Jensen and Elon are working so closely together now, and will continue to for quite some time.
Yeah, pretty wild. All right, so Hans, we're gonna end with this: a Scandinavian planes to have Starlink.
Well, I mean, having Starlink connectivity on aircraft is great, whether that's in Scandinavia, the United States, or Antarctica. Connection, having good Wi-Fi wherever you're at, it just makes the plane ride way, 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 way better in many respects. And so this is good news.
100%. Well, everyone, I hope that ends episode 124. If you guys are all in the Bay Area region or want to come maybe drive this weekend, if you don't have anything else going on, we have two things going. Holiday toy drive out in Palo Alto from 1 to 5 o'clock. And then also too, it's going to be a toy drive and a light show. And then also, if you are out in kind of like Central California by Sacramento area, go check out the Tesla Owners of San Joaquin Valley light show as well at 6 o'clock in Galt, California. So we will see you guys all next week. And hopefully everyone has a great week. And thanks again for tuning in. And we will catch you guys all next Friday. Cool, guys. Good job.